It is the Friday news dump, and we got a big dump, my friends. A big one to dump on you today. No pun intended there, of course. It's Holden. It's Bobby Gomes. It's Tambo. Bobby, were you golfing today? What's going on over there, man? All dolled up.
Yeah, I went the indoor range. It's getting kind of cold out here, so had to hit a
All right.
couple
Hey,
golf balls, keep the swing in check.
Tambo, how's Canada treating you today? What's with the hat? What's the hat?
I had a pun for you though. It's the Friday news dump, and we got the Cooper pooper right off the hop that we got to get into. You don't catch them quick like me, Holden. Come on. The hat is standing for goats, and it is my favorite project out there right now. But I don't shill NFT projects, so I just like the hat. It has a goat on it. It's got a G, and I personally love the project. But we'll leave it at that.
They'll eat anything too. Those goats, man. Don't watch out for the goats. They'll eat anything. Okay, let's just get into this, boys and girls. We got so much to discuss. Bobby, I come on like, Bobby, what's going on? He's like, Amari Cooper just got ruled out. All right, Amari Cooper's on the COVID list, Bobby. Where are we going now? Is this Gallup week? Is this Lamb? Is this more running game? I mean, it should be a shootout against the Chiefs.
Yeah, all these guys are in play, right? 56 total, but definitely Gallup chalk at 4,200. 22, the Kansas City Chiefs ranked 22 in opponents' pass yards per game, 22nd in the league, 20th in passes per game, like just throwing, and then 21st in yards per game passing. So I just think Gallup's a really strong play in construction this week.
Okay, what are you taking out of this, Tambo?
Yeah, I said it before. I'd say it again. I just think it's someone I already liked. I love that stack this week. I was going Dak to Dak to Dak the third week in a row, back to back to back. So I'm going to still go there, but I just never feel good about it. And I thought Gallup would be a way to get a little bit different at the start of the week. It was already apparent yesterday that it was not going to be unique. And now it's most definitely not going to be unique at all. So you're going to have to stack it up a little bit differently. Lamb probably won't get as popular as he could or should. And that's one thing to keep an eye on there. Schultz, I think, at tight end. Again, I'm stacking this game up. So I'm happy to go there from both sides. And then, of course, Zeke would become a really good play because he's even been involved in the pass game as well. And I've talked about it plenty of times on this very show within the content over at Run Pure Sports about people being afraid of using Zeke inside of the Dak stacks. And I got no problem with it.
All right. I think this is huge. Just huge news. Thank God it dropped today. Could you imagine if this thing drops like 2 minutes before the game starts, everything's already locked, and I guess you just swap, you late swap, but that is monster news. All right, Tambo, I want to come right back to you here because on the other side of things, Andy Reid says Clyde Edwards-Helaire is up in the air. He had a good week. To me, if he plays, Damian Williams, I got no shot of rostering him. If he doesn't play, then I kind of like Williams a little bit. How do you respond to this news?
Hopefully Darryl over Damian, but I'm definitely interested in
Darryl
Williams
if
that happens because he's a piece that also kind of like the Zeke side of it. I guess this is my thoughts. This game is popular. It's going to be popular for a good reason. But I feel like the run game gets ignored when we get these big shootouts. People think shootout, and they don't think that what it really is points. They think it's just going to be throwing back and forth all game. Tyreek, Lamb, Cooper was going to be in the mix, Gallup, all those guys we mentioned. I got no problem going to the running game, and I think adding that piece in is just another way to get a cheap piece of the work in this game that can definitely put up points, maybe even 2 touchdowns for the Kansas City side. So I like Darryl Williams quite a bit, especially if the CEH news is that he's ruled out.
But if he's in, are you still playing him?
No, I wouldn't be as interested, but it would keep his ownership down. So I'd still have him in some of those game stacks just to be a little bit unique. And with CEH being questionable all week and then all of a sudden plays, that to me would still be a spot where I think you could utilize him. But there's a lot of running backs on this slate.
Bobby Gomes, what do you want to do with the running backs with the Chiefs here?
Yeah, for the Chiefs, you got Darrell Williams at 5,400. If Clyde Edwards-Helaire plays, I honestly don't have much interest. $5,700 Gaskins seems to be the chalk. If you wanted to pivot off Gaskins, go to Darrell Williams. If Helaire was in, I don't know. I would just pretty much write off this Chiefs backfield. I know they just don't run the ball enough and they don't run it efficiently. Dallas is a pretty good run D. So for me, off this Chiefs run game pretty much.
Okay. How about this? We'll go right back to you here, Bobby. The 49ers listed Elijah Mitchell as doubtful. I like Jeff Wilson this week. I kind of feel like Shanahan could just plug in a back. He's the legitimate running backs don't matter coach. Where are you on Wilson this week?
Yeah, I like Wilson, especially if we get Mitchell out. Like Wilson last week, we were trying to see if he'd work in. $5,100 for Wilson, I'd much rather go to than $5,400 for Darrell Williams off of a Myles Gaskin pivot. I think he's going to work in. He knows the system too, right? Like that's pretty much why Elijah Mitchell has the job that he has. Tamo kind of hit on it pretty much all year. Like he came from a system that correlates well with the San Francisco 49ers system. So Jeff Wilson having been in it and Shanahan trusting and knowing that he's going to make the right cuts and reads. I just would have interest in Wilson at 5,100.
Okay. Tambo, what do we want to do here with Wilson? He's a nice salary saver.
Yeah, $5,100. I thought I saw right before we came on here, Holden, you might have even retweeted it yourself. But did Hasty, was Hasty just out of practice today, or has he been ruled out for the week? That's sort of another interesting point I want to keep an eye on. So I know and the chat's got me covered on McNichols. I saw the Q tag, but he just got ruled out as well for Tennessee. But
Hasty's
did you
out.
see Hasty?
Hasty's out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be the Wilson show.
Yeah, I'm in on Wilson for sure. I just, like I said, I think we looked at this last week. There's a too strong of an opportunity there. They have good blockers. They have options. We saw it last week with a spot like Johnson. If there's just going to be nobody else there, and finally we don't have to worry about as much from San Francisco, where usually it's a carousel that we want to stay away from. This would just be a spot where you kind of not get cute. You don't want to go all in. You don't have to, but like a lot of times this is where I'll be just extremely overweight. Like last week, I had like 60% of Dearness Johnson with that O-line and with the opportunities that he was going to see.
Yeah, I'm looking at that saying, wow, this is.
They love to run. They just love to run.
It's just going to be a massive. And listen, I go back with Shanahan's. They had an undrafted kid by the name of Alfred Morris. Alfred Morris did nothing special. All this dude did was just run. It's that zone blocking scheme. And see, what are you smiling about there, Bobby Gomes? Did he win you some money or something?
No, all your Washington takes. I love it when you go back into your heyday covering Washington.
Well, that's Shanahan though. Like
it is Shanahan. You're correct. The zone blocking scheme, like they've revolutionized it. They use it.
I know everybody busts my balls for talking about the glory days. Listen, I'm a shell of myself now, so give me a break, Bobby Gomes. Any final thoughts on the Niners there on Hasty being out?
I kind of hit on it. No one there, no carousel now. Like, it's the perfect way to put it. You might see Jeff Wilson get very chalky rather than Myles Gaskin being a pivot off Gaskins.
Yeah, I'll just chime in quick on that. I think Gaskin is done. There's too many running back plays since even last night. No, not that he was like, I'm saying done as chalk. He was popping up in optimals and things across projection sites to start the week and even coming into yesterday afternoon, evening when Bobby and I were over on the Mayo Media Network doing the show, but there's no chance now. He's already down to 10% in most places. It's going to drop even further with all this news that popped today and plenty of other guys that can hop into action here.
Okay. We got Kyler Murray questionable. Hopkins is out again. We don't want to mess with this offense, do we? Maybe do we have any interest in James Conner, guys? Either one of you?
I do.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, I think James Conner is in a very good spot, especially for his price tag at 6,100, going against the Seattle Seahawks defense that has been very, very bad, to say the least, against the run, like extremely bad. So I don't mind Conner at 6,100. He did just get there last week. Like he just pretty much got there with that late touchdown. He was kind of being stifled by that Panthers defense early on. The thing that I would worry about is Kyler would take away from Conner in some situations, like if he's at the goal line and if he becomes like he'd obviously steal a goal line touchdown from Conner. Still 6,100 is a pretty fair price tag.
Okay. Well, you ready to move on from that?
Well, I was just going to say a couple of things quick. One is that A.J. Dillon's right there. So when ownership really updates and reflects, obviously A.J. Dillon's the ultra chalk of the week. I think in large field stuff, James Conner will still be popular, but not nearly as popular as Dillon. So we'll have to wait and see what the numbers shake out like. Could even be a little bit of a pivot there. And it's the same team that A.J. Dillon just went off against in that Seahawks matchup. So I think you could definitely see Conner get in there and have himself a day. And if everyone's going to be on the other side, you might not want to put those two together and use it more as a leverage play, even if it is 18% versus 35. That's still a pretty big difference, significant gap in large field stuff to get unique. And if he beats A.J. Dillon and you've got that move, that could be a pretty big day for you.
All right. Got some marketing points for everybody. Okay. RPS Heater 25% off your first payment of a monthly installment. If you're already a subscriber, just go type in get bets and go get the bet side. If you want the bet side and the DFS side, it's $100. And then you get 25% off your first monthly installment. So it's only $75 for that month. It's probably the best deal dollar for dollar out there. The DFS side and the bet side. You're getting all the core plays from the big guys here. AP, JSU, Tony give their player pools on top of that. So all you got to do is mix and match. You can use all the players they're using and then plug it into the cores. We got cash charts. We got other slate cores, Tambo, Bobby Gomes. These guys are giving out cores as well. So a lot going on at RPS right now. RPS Heater 25. So let's get back into this real quick. Bobby Gomes, James Robinson, questionable. Carlos Hyde's not an option, but if James Robinson in there against the Niners, he really has turned into a bell cow. They just love giving him the ball. He's captain check down from Trevor Lawrence. Would you play James Robinson if he's in?
I don't think so. Not with the running back value I think AJ Dillon's pretty much a lock at this point. And if Jeff Wilson if we get the Elijah Mitchell news, Jeff Wilson's going to become a lock. And then from there, probably be Chubb, McCaffrey, Swift, guys like that I'd be looking to plug in, mix into my running back pool. I just don't think with the 19.5 team total, I'd be getting to a Jacksonville running back.
Okay. Tambo?
Yeah, we can move on. He said what I was going to say.
Let's go, Tambo. You get the first one on this one. Kamara missed practice. I mean, that's not good. Probably not going to play with that knee. Mark Ingram?
Yeah, same as the previous question. I just think there's too many other options here on this slate. Like I said, with running back, it's just loaded right now. There's so many guys, and these guys are just not in consideration. Even with the injury news, it's going to be tough. And I think those playing cash games as well are going to struggle this week to find just three, because earlier in the week, it would have been CMC, sort of lock them in at 8,900. Now with all these values popping up at running back, I think people are going to be able to see they can go to have both Tyreek Hill and Adams in their lineup, for example, and try and stack it up that way. So in tournaments, there's always options, but I'm saying there's still options in between the cash guys and the ones further down the board, like the Ingrams and Robinsons. There's still some of these guys at the higher price points too, that we're not going to talk about. It's not part of the news necessarily, that are just not going to be popular enough this week and could really do something for you in large field stuff.
Ambo, you want to even consider Mark Ingram?
Right now, no. As far as what I'm looking at, the Kamara news was expected from me as well. So with Taysom Hill and all the things they've got going on there, you just never know what's going to happen. We're going to have more clear-cut situations, I think.
What do you think, Bobby?
So if we get the Jeff Wilson chalk, I'm pretty much just playing Jeff Wilson, but it'd be an interesting pivot, 300 more or 400 more, whatever he is. I know Philly has a really good run defense, but Ingram's been utilized in the passing game recently. He's going to see the majority of the work. So it's just a slight pivot, but still would much prefer Jeff Wilson.
You prefer Jeff Wilson in that spot. Yeah. Let's stay with you here, Bobby.
If we get the Mitchell news.
Running back news. Is it Dante Foreman season with Jeremy
I'm
McNichols
not
out?
playing Dante Foreman.
Doing it.
No, I don't know. Maybe Tambo has a better read on that situation.
Tambo?
I said in the chat, you could see a revenge game there. That's his spot. And I'm not playing AP ever. So I would be happy to take a shot on Foreman for sure. More than the other guys in large field stuff.
Okay. You know what? I don't hate him either. I don't hate it. I think he's talented. I think he's been hurt a lot, and now he's given an opportunity. He's one of the running backs don't matter guys, but I could see him getting some work there.
I actually think that's a really good take with Foreman. 4,900. Like I said, we get the Elijah Mitchell news at 4,900. He's going to, with the opportunity cost, he's going to go overlooked.
Yeah, I think so. Gronkowski said the arrow is pointing toward playing week 11 against the Giants. That's not even on the main slate. Nick Chubb has been activated. Tambo, how much do you love Nick Chubb this week?
Yeah, that was one of the guys I mentioned earlier that I was sort of referencing towards. You've got that spot. It's kind of an opposite side. I liked Swift a little bit this week. We still got to wait and see on that. I know he was limited and Williams is back and all the stuff going on in Detroit. Plus he's priced up a little bit, but I called him CMC light. On the opposite side though, I think it's still too cheap for Nick Chubb, a guy they just love to run and use that O-line. I mean, look at Dearness Johnson, still did his thing last week. I would expect him to be able to easily cruise here and just have much less ownership. Plus he's kind of in that mid-tier range where, like we said, everyone's going to pay down for the value or go up to CMC. So I kind of like Chubb for large field stuff as well.
Bobby, Nick Chubb to me behind CMC, my number 2 running back this week. What's your take on Chubb as he's been activated?
Yeah, really like Chubb. I think he's probably my favorite spend up now with how construction's kind of shaken out outside of CMC, even though CMC is CMC and always a great play. Detroit run D is terrible. I think we'll see Chubb's. I don't think Dearness Johnson will eat in as much. Week 9, I think it was a similar situation. He's seen 56% of the snaps Chubb did. It's also targeted in the passing game. Like, I'm pretty much fine with taking playing Chubb in tournaments and possibly in cash.
There's just nobody there. They didn't even give Johnson touches really. When Chubb was the only guy.
Just because of the job Johnson did last week, that could change. So that could be a knock, but
I wouldn't stress it. The other side of things here, guys, can you talk to me about Tim Boyle? Because I know there's a little, you brought up DeAndre Swift. Was it you, Tambo, that brought up Swift?
Yeah.
And Boyle starting in all likelihood. This could be a complete debacle. Is that just a guy that you would trust Swift because of a volume play? Because it's going to be ugly for Detroit, man.
Yeah, but what I always say, but again, we got to see what you think would happen in the game script when you're building your lineups. Always take that into consideration. But the thing about Swift is usually, aside from that Philly game where they were down, whatever it was, 41-3 or whatever they ended up losing, usually he's involved either way. If they somehow get up early, it's because of him. He stays involved in the passing game. The opportunities have just been so huge for him. It just depends. And if Williams comes back, it really dampens it, as far as the news goes there. Like you said, the quarterback stuff going on. So not overly as excited. Like I said, now we just have all these other options. I do like Chubb quite a bit on the other side of that game now, and I would play Browns D with him as well. Ooh. I think that's another way you can go about it.
Like a little correlation right there. Bobby, any thoughts?
Yeah, no Tim Boyle for me.
Well, not Tim Boyle, but like anything now on the Detroit side whatsoever. Just completely axe it, even Swift?
Depends on like my exposure to the Cleveland D, like Tambo kind of got into. I like Swift. I just, now that Boyle's there, I don't know. Do we know if he checks down or not? Like, I don't really know the history of Tim Boyle. So we'll just have to get some analysis as the week progresses.
The history of Tim Boyle is not success. It's the opposite of success for Tim Boyle. So I just want to let you
likely know. Out on Swift then.
You're likely out on Swift then. Well, why don't you give me a shot on Cam Newton here? Matt Rule says he's going to take the first snap. PJ Walker will probably play. I can't imagine PJ Walker is going to play very much. Is Cam Newton in play in DFS this week?
I think he's in play in DFS, especially the 5K range. People paying down at quarterback, whether it's Tua, whether it's Cam. I would be worried about how much PJ eats in. Like, PJ kind of looked good last week. Not to be, I actually don't think Cam Newton's that good at football anymore. Not that I'm saying PJ Walker is good, but I think that PJ Walker might be a better thrower of the football. So you could see him in between the 20s. They'll run packages for him. So where I would worry about is the correlation with McCaffrey. Like, PJ Walker in the XFL threw the ball 17% of the time to his running backs. Seen that a lot last week. That's why I didn't really understand why the industry was so down on him, because if that trend continued, and we've seen that within the Panthers offense, like they want to throw to the running backs, it made a ton of sense to kind of, if Cam wasn't getting packages, to play him, but obviously Cam was going to get in. So it was a knock to PJ, but I thought PJ was kind of sneaky in that sense. And he almost did get the touchdown to McCaffrey on a passing play. In terms of Cam, like, he's going to steal goal line. He'd likely steal it from McCaffrey in cash games. Like, you have to consider him. I don't like playing Cam, but I think he's a good play at 5K.
Okay. What do you think, Mr. Tambo?
I think Cam is going to be the cash game play of the week. Everyone's going to talk about. I don't know if this PJ Walker might get some snaps, quote unquote, is going to scare people away there. Probably not. And then I think now with the running back news, people will be more okay to say to themselves, look, I'm going to get off of CMC, play these other values, and hopefully Cam vultures and does his thing and snaps the Superman out a couple times for the fans. But I don't know. Like, I'm not going to go to him in tournaments. From what I'm seeing right now, it's very unlikely I get to him there. I could see in like a smaller field, high dollar, if you want to go there just to be able to build something and make everything fit, all the pieces. But in large field stuff, I don't even think I need him. So I'm not as high on him as maybe others this week.
For those of you just joining us, the big news here, Amari Cooper's on the COVID list. He's out this week against the Chiefs, could miss the Thanksgiving Day game against the Raiders. Alvin Kamara has been officially ruled out. And then it looks like Alex Collins, he's got the backfield in Seattle once again with Chris Carson out. God, Alex Collins just drives me nuts, man. He's kind of the same player as Carson. He just doesn't get anything done, Bobby Gomes. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, Collins has actually been getting work in the passing game. He's at 5K. He's seeing a good bit of snaps. I don't hate Collins. I think I just prefer the other running backs.
Tambo, back to your thoughts on running backs. He's not in the mix, is he?
No, he wasn't last week. He's not again. And it didn't hurt me then, and I don't think it's going to hurt me now. So
I don't think it is
either.
Yeah, I think you're going to be just fine, Tambo. So let's go right to you. Whole bunch of stuff going on with Washington right now. Ricky Seals-Jones is out. I'm just going to throw a name out there. You can do a little research on your own. John Bates. Yeah. Yeah, 63% of the snaps last week. He went 3 for 25 and about a half a play. I had the Ricky Seals-Jones over 4.5 catches, and I think Seals had 3 in the first quarter and a half, and then he got hurt. Yeah, and then I saw Bates come in, and I'm like, oh, it's John Bates season. This is not bad. That's all I'll say. Look into Bates if you really want to punt at tight end this week, Tambo.
John Bates season. I don't think that's a real thing. I don't think it ever will be a real thing. So, that's one that my buddy actually sent it to me today and said, I need your thoughts on this guy. And I said, who? Like, come on, man. But I get why, like you said, they do run a lot of, the dropbacks there that they have in Washington. That's why with Logan Thomas before, and then Ricky Seals-Jones, and now Bates could be the guy. But I just think there's so many better options. I'd rather find the money for Cole Kmet. I think in Tennessee, if Swaim is out, I can't remember. I think he's out, but they've got Pruitt there who at least catches touchdowns for $100 more. You could find him. And then there's plenty of other options that you can use at tight end that are just a little bit more money with that Dan Arnold, Dawson Knox, Cole Kmet. If Goddard's back from the concussion, just got paid, Dalton Schultz. There's just so many guys there that you can play instead versus waiting around all game, hoping for a reception or two for John Bates.
Yeah, I think Bates gets a little work. Bobby, if I tell you $2,500 and Bates lets you get up to just about anything you want and he gets you 6 points, because in 2.5 quarters last week, you got 3 for 25. Can I interest you in John Bates at all? Or is he just a cash
definitely could
punt?
interest me in John Bates. He got 5 targets, 3 receptions, 2,500, like usually punting tight end in cash games. If I'm playing cash in tournaments, I totally get the take with what Tamo's saying. Like I'd rather just pay up. Cole Kmet. There are definitely better guys that I think are in play at the tight end position,
but not a bad play in cash.
I think people could go there, or if we'll see what happens now with all these running backs, but people might go to something like that to try and make it all work. I honestly don't. I looked at some lineups earlier. I don't think you need to. I can see plenty of lineups that have Kmet in them. There's cheap Ds that you can play this week if people are using Cam Newton and hoping there. You can get so many guys in and just print. So I don't think there's any need for John Bates.
No John Bates love, which is just fine with me. You could talk about the other side too here. So there's no pass rush for Washington. And we were just talking about Cam Newton. So they don't have Chase Young. They don't have Montez Sweat. They've got a kid who was a 7th round pick in James Smith-Williams. They got a 7th round pick and Casey Tuhill. I've never heard of him. Bunmi Rotimi, undrafted free agent. William Bradley King, they just brought him up from the practice squad. I can't imagine there is any pass rush whatsoever from this Washington team this week, but it's still not enough to get you on Cam Newton, right?
Well, I'm not high on Cam Newton, but some pieces. One of the plays I didn't think we were going to get here with the way the news shook out, but I actually do like DJ Moore at 5,900. I think, like you said, just the opportunity. I'm with sort of Bobby on the conversation around what Cam is capable of. Even when he hit Robbie for the touchdown last week, it was just in the end. They were in there already. They were 5-10 yards away. I'm saying he can get these passes to a guy like DJ Moore, who people might forget about and not think about as often. I think he's already a pretty good play there, and you don't have to stack a guy like him with Cam Newton. He can just rack it up on 8 for 120 and a touchdown, and that doesn't mean Cam got to value, or it doesn't mean Cam got to what you needed to take down a tournament. But I do like DJ Moore at 5,900.
I just want to go back to something real quick. It's the Elijah Mitchell news. So he's doubtful. Hasty's out, and that leaves Jeff Wilson. Does that an extra few, maybe a carry or two for Deebo Samuel Does that bump his stock up a little bit with you guys?
Yeah, I like Deebo quite a bit. I like Ayuk as well. So I think there's other ways. I think this could be a spot where we see it go as a leverage option. Like Wilson's going to get extremely popular as the week goes on. And one of the differences, like I said, I'm not against it. I like him, and I think in cash will be popular, but I'm just saying I build 150 plus lineups. So I will have leverage situations. And one of the reasons I would choose that as one of the spots to leverage is because we have other options there. Last week, when you had Cleveland with Dearness Johnson, it's not the same. You have Baker at the helm with no real options to pass to, or at least not easily, catchable balls for these guys to expect. In San Francisco, when you got a guy like Deebo, who we already saw do it once this season early on when Mostert was chalk week 1, if you remember all the way back, rewind, that was Deebo week 2, and Deebo's just been having every week seems like Deebo week. So I love him rocking the big chain, throwing it up there. He's so good, man. And so I definitely don't hate that at all. And like I said, even Ayuk is cheap enough and a good enough leverage spot that they can get him the ball and he can do the work after the catch too.
Hey, Bobby Gomes, talk to me. Little Deebo this week.
I think that's actually a really good point you just made, Holden, that Deebo could see some work in the running game. I like Deebo. I like him every week. He's smashed every week. I was on Deebo ahead of Ayuk for best ball. Everyone was kind of gravitating towards Ayuk. Yeah, 7,800 for Deebo. I like it.
He always seems like the stud that gets left off too, right? We're always talking about the top shelf guys, but he's right there. Like he's among the league leaders. He's among the DFS leaders here in every statistical category for wide receiver.
And also too, just it's not news related, but it ties into the same conversation. It's more of like the spot where Deebo's at. Holden, this week, it's going to be either pay up or pay down. When you look at sort of the top, it's Adams and Tyreek. That's where people are going to want to go for obvious reasons. But then when you drop down to below the 8K range, you've got Diggs, Deebo, AJ Brown, Lamb, Jamar Chase, Marquise Brown, and Terry McLaurin. Those are all incredible receivers. And that whole range, you could just pepper and get unique in your own way. And some of them even correlate with other plays on the slate, and they just will never get enough ownership in that range.
All right. I mean, as that happened, my buddy John comes out and he goes, Deebo's probably going to see more carries than Sermon. So I just think that adds a little bit into it because, Shanahan came out and said, hey, Sermon just hasn't earned it yet. Everybody's ahead of him on the depth chart. That'll be interesting to see how many carries Deebo gets. It might only be 1 or 2 more, but we know how it's another touch for him, and he's such an explosive player. So I just wanted to bring that up. Again, Amari Cooper, he's out. He's got the COVID, whatever, he's at least exposed to it. That's the biggest news here. Kamara is officially out. Elijah Mitchell is doubtful, so he's probably not going to play. We just talked about that too. Looks like all systems go for the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. And Marquise Brown is questionable with the thigh. I cannot imagine that Marquise Brown's going to end up missing this game though. And Allen Robinson's out. My God, let's pour one out for Allen Robinson, boys. I mean, it's over. Justin Fields isn't even looking at him. I love the guy. He's so amazing. And he just doesn't have a quarterback again. It's sad. Bobby, will you join me? Tambo, will you join me? Pour 2 out for.
Pour them out.
Yeah, pour him out. Poor Allen Robinson. I like him so much. And we'll still wait on the news on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If he's in, I think that changes a lot with the Chiefs that you're playing as well. Tambo, wonderful to see you. Bobby Gomes, wonderful to see you. We got Hardwood Show coming up here in just a few minutes, so stick around on our YouTube channel, and then we'll have the Up to Lock Show, the final countdown. For those of you that were watching on tape delay, make sure you hit the like button on the way out. For those of you watching live, hit the like button on the way out. Helmet, get us out of here, dude.